Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back. Today we would be talking about something called as dynamic ads, which would help you automate partially automate your process of writing ad text. When do you need this? In what situations do you need this? How can it help you? Does it really help you? What is the downside of using a feature like this? Or is there only upside? In what situations do you have to use this? And how do you get the maximum out of this is what we would be talking about. Imagine, before we get into the detailed story, let me give you a situation. Imagine a client like Dell or Maybelline who has a lot of wide range products come to you asking for your help when it comes to advertise their Google ads. When you talk about a company like Maybelline, if they come to you and they say that I want you to help me advertise my product, which is the lipstick range, and there are about 400 colors, that's what they tell you. So you go ahead and create a Google Ads account. The Google Ads account for Maybelline will be Maybelline is the account. Then you have lipstick. I hope the spelling is right. Yeah, this is L. Alright, so the product range is lipstick, which is the campaign. Now you go ahead and create about 400 ad groups for their 400 products, right? Now keywords in this ad group can be black nail polish, best black nail polish on in black, deals on black nail polish, whatever, all black nail polish, whatever, right? Now, when you have this, you're also supposed to write ads. Now, if you remember one of the previous sessions, as a best practice, for every ad group, you write 3 ads, right? So, which means 3 different variations of ads, and then you can replicate them across all these things. Now, think about it. 3 ad texts per ad group multiplied by 400 ad groups, that's 1200 ad texts, which can be quite cumbersome. Now, how do you deal with this situation? Do you employ people to write ads alone, which is not practically feasible, and they may not necessarily have the same expertise that's needed for writing innovative, creative ad text? So, how do you deal with this situation? Not just for Maybelline, you have products like Amazon, which has got a huge range of inventory. Companies like Sears Holdings, they have like a huge range. Dell has a lot of computers and printers or different models. It's quite tedious for you to go ahead and do these things manually, and to build out this campaign, your half of your month will go by the time you come up with these ad texts, make all the necessary modifications, and make sure there are no errors and etc. So how do you deal with this situation? Wouldn't it be cool if I had someone who can automatically write the headlines for me based upon what is there on the page? So a service like this, in fact, I would pay for a service like this, irrespective of tight budgets, right? I really want a service like this who can come up with automatic headlines while I'm building out the campaign, right? Now, what these automatic headlines should do is it cannot change the theme of the product. When you're talking about black colored nail polish, the ad text should talk about theme, which is black colored. It should also include generic aspects of the business like COD available, and all those things cannot be changed, because those are USPs of the business. Now, at the same time, I also don't want to go through the effort of copy pasting the landing pages which are specifically belonging to a black nail polish, red nail polish. So I should make sure that landing pages should be proper and relevant, and do not send them to a generic page. Now, do we have a tool like this? I don't think there is a third-party tool like this, but the good news is all these things can be done from your Google Ads interface itself. Yes, you heard it right, through something called as dynamic ads. So dynamic ads is the technology-driven interface feature, technology-driven, it's the AI ML-driven feature where Google automatically scans through a web page, picks up the content, understands what the content is talking about. It frames your headlines for your ad texts automatically. It comes up with the text for your headlines basically, and it will also make sure it will dynamically insert the URL of the landing page. So majority of your problems where the theme doesn't have to change, generic aspects of the business has to be included, and proper landing pages has to be included, can be achieved through this feature called as dynamic ads. Basically, for this feature to work, you need to have a Google Ads account, of course. The second thing that you need to do is you need to fill in the URL of the page or the domain of the page of the website that you are working with, so that Google can go ahead and find out the pages. For example, let's look at what I'm talking about. And I will also show you how to create a dynamic ad text. So what do? You go ahead to your Google Ads account, which is right here. Go to your home page or the overview tab. All right, so let's go to your campaigns. I have a campaign here, and if I want to go ahead and use a feature called dynamic ads, I'll have to select the campaign that I would want to work with. Once I've selected that, there is something called as settings, as usual. Under settings, you will see something called as dynamic search ad setting, right? Now here, you will enter your domain. In this case, let's take Amazon, because I don't want to go ahead and look at what is the Maybelline website. So let's go ahead with Amazon as an example. So I will go ahead and put in my domain. Make sure you cannot put your subdomains or the entire URL or the landing page URL. You just have to put your domain here. What is the language? English. Why is language important? Because if it is an Arabic page or if it's a Portuguese page, you have to input Google that the ad text has to be in Portuguese, right? So language is in English. Use Google's index of this site. Leave this as it is. Don't change anything. Simply say save. Right? Before we do that, if you read this, dynamic search ads target relevant searches automatically based upon your website. Then use headlines automatically customized to people's actual searches. How cool is that? If somebody is searching for a metallic gold nail polish, the headline will automatically be taken care of Google, which matches to the search query that they're searching, which is metallic gold nail polish. If there is somebody searching for charcoal black nail polish, Google takes care of your headlines, which is automatically matching with the user search query. This is one of the best features that I've ever seen, right? The setting determines what domain, what language, and what targeting source to use for your dynamic search ads. To create a dynamic search ad, you will need to create a dynamic ad group in the next step. This is crucial, right? Now, since I have created my domain settings for dynamic search ads, the next step is to go ahead and create an ad group, right? When you're creating ad group, this is where you have to be a little careful. When you're creating ad groups, by default, there are certain things that we kind of ignore and we kind of take it for granted, but here you cannot, because when you're creating an ad group, make sure there is a small thing called dynamic or standard. This has to be a dynamic ad group. Why is it a dynamic keyword? Why should it be a dynamic ad group? Because you're telling Google that I want your help to come up with dynamic headlines for this ad group, for the ads in this ad group rather. So select this and define it as dynamic ad group, because tomorrow you don't want to get confused, right? Default bid, let's put in a default bid in this, let's say 10. Categories recommended for your website, you can or you don't, it's okay even if you don't choose this. Simply say save and continue. Right. Now this is interesting. Categories recommended for your website, right? Now for Google to go ahead and come up with ad texts when somebody searches for a specific product, this is where you tell where is that product located, right? Now simply let's look at what this talks about. Use dynamic target categories recommended for your website to select several pages that match a specific theme for your targeting goals. You can also exclude pages on your website that you don't want to be used. For example, if you don't want to look at, let's say, a pink color nail polish or a pink color when it comes to your product range, you can exclude that page. Now, if there are all pages on the website that you would want that to consider, select all pages. When I do this, amazon.com/all pages will be taken care of. If I want only specific web pages, I will include all the URLs for my product that is included. So I copy paste all the URLs here. You can also create rules to target a website. If the URL contains, now let's take an example. Let's go to amazon.com. Let's take an example here. Let's go to amazon.com, right? If I want Google's help to come up with dynamic ads for my product range called shoes, right? So let's search for shoes on Amazon. Don't you think the URL for Amazon, anything to do with shoes, will be amazon.com/shoes slash something else, right? So when I'm talking about shoes, this won't usually change, right? So let me copy this, amazon.com/shoes. So come to my category section, and if the URL contains anything that's related to this, which means go ahead and write dynamic ads for this and simply add it, right? If the URL, if you're talking about some other product, for example, if you're talking about, let's say, furniture, right? Let's say, let's select one of the furniture products. So let's select one of the products for us to understand. All right. So amazon.com/s?a/furniture, right? Now anything to do with furniture will have this URL. So let's select this. Let's try it with this, for example. So if you want to look at furniture, for example, let's look at shop by category. Look at where all the categories are available. Shop by department, see all categories. Do you have furniture somewhere? This is smart home, electronics, computers, beauty, women's fashion, men's fashion, industrial, scientific, luggage, home improvement, home and kitchen maybe, right? Let's say if you're talking about furniture, this is furniture. Now this is your entire furniture category. Now select this category, come here and paste this URL, right? So that it takes care of everything that's got furniture related things, and simply add it, right? Now save and continue. You can change your ad group bids if you want. Now save and continue. This is only half the job. Now we will get to know more about this when we start writing ad text, or when we create ad text. Here is where it is automatically prompting you to go ahead and create an ad text, because we have already defined the dynamic URL at the settings page. Now we have also created a dynamic ad group. Now we are talking about creating a dynamic ad. When you say creating a dynamic ad, URL and the headlines will automatically be taken care of by Google. I will have to just put in the description, right? Look at this. New expanded dynamic search ad. This is dynamically generated landing page, which is the URL, because I have given the definitions. I have given the instructions. Now headline is automatically inserted by Google. Display URL is automatically inserted. Look at this. It is all dynamically generated. You cannot know what this is until it is searched for. Next thing that you need to know is you only need to put in your descriptions here and then say done. That's it. So that's how you go ahead and create your dynamic ads. Dynamic search ads, ladies and gentlemen, you have to remember something though. Dynamic ads, ladies and gentlemen, you have to remember, say if you're talking about dynamic ads, there is obviously some limitation to customization. You can't obviously have arrive at the ad text that you would have written otherwise. You're only using this option because it's too cumbersome for you to write so many ad texts at once. Then you need to understand that these are automatically generated and you have very little control as to what you would need to show. That's something that you cannot decide. You only have the liberty of writing what you want in the descriptions. And the most important advantage with dynamic ads is, in my experience of working with dynamic ads and Google Ads for about 15 years, your bids are usually very, 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 very less compared to your usual regular campaigns, right? Partially this can be explained because Google is coming up, if you remember the equation, which is keywords, ads and landing page, right? You need to have a good relevance between these three for your ads to show up at, for your bids to be less, right? For your ads to show up at better positions for a lower bid, you need to maintain this equilibrium. Now what you need to do is, when you're working with dynamic ads, what happens is you give the keywords. So who is taking care of ads and landing page? Google. So because it is taken care of by Google, Google automatically makes sure there is a good relevancy factor between the keywords and the ads and the landing page. Since Google is at the center and it is taking care of the equilibrium, the bids usually at dynamic campaigns are less compared to your regular campaigns. And I can also give you a range. For example, if regular campaigns cost you $1, dynamic ads may cost you 40 cents to 50 cents, right? So it's quite good that way. So if you're struggling with tight budgets, limited product range, or unlimited product range, if you have a huge website where you can't write ads automatically, please go ahead and use dynamic ads. You don't always have to create a dynamic ad group for creating a dynamic ad. You can also create dynamic ads for regular campaigns. Let me show you how. So let's go to a campaign which is existing. Go to ad groups. This is the new ones that we created, which is the dynamic ad group. This is a standard ad group, which is a regular ad group. If you want to write an ad text for this, you can go ahead and so that's basically you create a dynamic ads. So you need to have a dynamic ad group when you're working with dynamic ads. Reason being, one, it's easy for Google to identify it's a dynamic ad group. Second, it's also easy for you to know if it is performing well compared to a regular campaign going forward. If it is not, you can change it back. If it is, you can leave it as it is. That's about it about dynamic search ads, and I hope you appreciate this session. See you in the next session. My name is Casey, your coach for this series. Ciao.